A roundtable discussion on the music of the Civil Rights Movement wraps up a special 2-year initiative entitled Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Remembrance and Reconciliation, sponsored by the Maryland Humanities Council to commemorate the 40th anniversary of his assassination. Joining us to talk about the Maryland Humanities program is Lydia Woods. She's the coordinator of the Grants and Community Outreach. Welcome to On Time. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing very well, Kai.
The music of the Civil Rights Movement, that's not necessarily something that comes to mind when we think of that time, is it?
Well, it depends on maybe who you are and how much you participated
Sure.
and how much you remember. It is a key element, really, that galvanized members of the participants in the Civil Rights Movement.
Absolutely. Let's talk about this. Of course, the actual 40th anniversary of Dr. King's assassination was last year, in 2008. How is it being commemorated? And there are different organizations around the country have done different things, have they not?
Right. Different organizations around the country have done different things. The Maryland Humanities Council used the humanities, different types of humanities programming, to get Marylanders involved in discussions about race and the legacy of Dr. King. And so we not only celebrated his legacy, but got people to get involved in difficult conversations about race and where are we 40 years after his assassination.
Right. When I think of music regarding the Civil Rights Movement in terms of what we've seen throughout history, We Shall Overcome, one of the big songs, Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Us Around.
That's right.
Music like that. What does that music signify of the struggle, and how is it in some senses universal, not just limited, do you think, to civil rights?
Well, I think that, again, depending on whether you're remembering this from actually participating or else looking back historically at film clippings or so forth, you'll see that when they discuss civil rights in the news and the press, there are often folks gathered together joining in song. Maybe if they had nothing else in common, they had the music that would get people inspired and really help them sustain their energy and stick to their goal of working for justice.
Right. What was the idea behind the program on Dr. King?
Well, we've had, again, a 2-year initiative that has had everything from book discussions, community conversations, historical presentations, and key folks to come in to do programming and get people to talk about race. But we wanted to do something that was celebratory to close out the initiative, and we thought music would be the perfect element, especially since it was such a key element in the Civil Rights Movement.
Who are some of, Lydia, who are some of the participants in this discussion that we're having?
We are very, very excited to have legendary civil rights activist and Georgia Congressman John Lewis, Dr. Bernice Johnson Reagan, who is a song leader and a scholar of the Civil Rights Movement and also an activist, and she's more broadly known for her affiliation and a leader with Sweet Honey in the Rock. Dr. Portia Maltsby. Dr. Portia Maltsby is an ethnomusicologist who brings a broad background of some of the music that I remember hearing, sort of Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud.
Yes.
And you got to give the people what they want, those kinds of, she has written, contributed to a collection of essays about that time era. And also Dr. Tricia Rose, who has written a book called The Hip Hop Wars. And you hear, I just gave you almost a timeline, and that's what we want to do, is celebrate the music of the Civil Rights Movement and bring it up to today, to have an appeal to the young people of today as well, so we can tap into and discuss what's happening today in terms of music being the voice of social justice and civil rights.
You know, it's interesting, you often hear, particularly from people of that generation of the civil rights era, and even those who are older than them, that young people of this generation don't have any connection to the civil rights movement, don't know that history. If that's so, is that their fault?
Well, it probably is. Probably the folks who know the information are responsible for passing it on, for sharing it. And we found that came up so much, Kai, with this initiative. We had people sitting around the table who are my age and up, who are able to tell and relate to the stories of the civil rights era, and realizing that their children and their grandchildren don't really have that much information about this. And so all of our programming did a lot to bring to the Maryland public different events that would help them key back into that.
Right. How do you think traditional African American music, songs that slaves might sing, spirituals, all that type of music kind of transcends music in general today?
I think that it's tied into memory and it's tied into tradition. These are some of the songs that we'll be discussing and we'll have an opportunity to see during the program on November 17th. Is going to tie back to old Negro spirituals and how the migration of that music up through today's hip-hop and spoken word.
And everything won't be on film. Again, like you mentioned, some of these folks here will have live performances as well, right?
Yes. So we're going to have a panel discussion, or actually a roundtable discussion, with the 4 folks that I mentioned already. Also, the Bowie State University Gospel Choir will be performing some of the songs that are relevant to the civil rights movement. We're really looking forward to the discussion and also some participation from the audience to ask their questions and, and have some interaction with them to find out what about this information is relevant to them.
But if you're having all this great music, I would imagine you would encourage people not to wear clothes too tight because they might be getting up, jumping up and down.
You know, if anybody breaks into song, and we will be thrilled.
If the spirit moves them, right?
If the spirit moves them, and we've already had Dr. Johnson Reagan let us know that probably the way that she might be sampling some of her music to support the points that she's making in her discussion will be that she will demonstrate, and so we're very much looking forward to that.
Lydia, I have to ask you about this, and you kind of broached the topic a moment ago, and that is the hip-hop rap generation. There's been a great deal of criticism over the years that the music is misogynistic, that it degrades women, African-American women. How do you view it, its role in music today, and its connection to the spoken word, to Negro spirituals, to the griots from Africa, which is where all of our tradition comes from anyway?
I have a broad look on this question. I've heard some songs that I find alarming and I don't think really have a place in the public and on the radio. Then I'm trying to open my mind to realize that people, of different ages and generations express themselves differently.
Right.
But there is a lot of hip-hop and a lot of rap that is not misogynistic,
right,
and that is supportive, and it does bring people together under one message and uses the music to do that. So I keep an open mind about it, but there are some things that I hope not to hear too much more of.
Not too many Chuck D and Public Enemies out there these days, are there?
No, but these are the guys actually who've got some of the information about this music too. And
Chuck got it right, didn't he?
Yes, indeed. Okay.
Thank you so much, Lydia, for coming on today. We appreciate it. We absolutely do. Lydia Woods from the Maryland Humanities Council, everybody. Once again, it is Music of the Movement. A Sustaining Voice is November 17th, beginning at 7:30 p.m. at Montgomery College in Tacoma Park, Silver Spring. That's in Montgomery County. Register by calling 410-685-0095. You can also go to their website, which is mdhc.org. Thank you for watching on WJZ, and thank you for listening on the CBS radio stations. Bye-bye, everybody.